Well, the name Tipton is actually the name of a school in England, and the chair was originally designed for that school. It's somewhere in the middle of England, quite near a town city called Birmingham. And so originally the design was meant for this academy school. In the end, we thought it was such a good name because obviously the chair tips as well. So that's how it came about.
Also, the name has two parts, like the movement of the chair. So it's tipped on, and in English it's tip, almost the same as tipped on. So it was very fortunate. Well, the project started really with a realization that the way that people are educated has changed a lot since our generation were at school. So originally, previously, we were expected to sit still and listen in college or school and just take down notes and not move. And in fact, with research, we found that you need to move to be able to think. And in fact, when you sit still, your brain goes to sleep.
Yeah, when you move, you have more blood flow in the body, and therefore you get more oxygen to the brain, so you feel more alive and more alert.
But also I would add that that was the way that people used to be taught, but now things have changed very much, and education is more like the working environment where we've become very used to having movement in office chairs. It's something that people take for granted now. And so we tried to find in this project a very, very simple way of giving two-position seating, but with no moving parts.
Yeah, because also, as Jay said, in most new office chairs, you have the opportunity to sit forward like this, and therefore your back is kept more straight. So it's a much better posture for working at a table or a desk. So we try to incorporate that in the most simple way. Well, I think, as we said to start with, it was designed originally for schools, but in fact it's an adult-sized chair because we really designed it for ages of 12 years and upwards. But as we developed the project, we realised that actually it was very useful to be used in any situation where you work at a table or you sit at a table. So it's good for eating, it's good for working, reading, and I think it can be used anywhere. I mean, I have them at home around my kitchen table, and it's perfect for that situation.
Also, I think it's a really good sort of first chair for an office. So if you're starting a business, for example, and you don't have so much money to start with, it's a really great basic office chair or studio chair. So we have them in our studio, and the architects and designers sit on them for the day. And I also have them at home, and I have some small kids. I have a 4-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and they really love using the chair for breakfast around the breakfast table. And our message to the customers of the Common Shop who are interested in Tipton chair would be it's a very good choice.
And also, because it's been developed for education, it's been tested to very, very high standard. So it's almost indestructible. So if you buy one, you'll have it for life.
Well, there are lots actually. I mean, when we started the project, we gave ourselves a list of criteria that it had to achieve. It had to be incredibly strong, incredibly light, also light looking. We wanted it to be a one-piece plastic chair so that it could be colour throughout, and so it had no bits which could break or fall off.
Also, the sound of the chair was really important because many school chairs have metal legs and wooden legs, and when you have 30, 40, sometimes 50 kids in the room and they move the chairs around, it's incredibly noisy. This chair is very quiet because we have a very soft plastic on the base.
The other thing is, when we were doing our research and we talked to people about their school chair, everybody remembered their school chair. And so for us it was important to create something which was recognisable but also memorable. There's more.
I was going to say that.
There's, of course, it needed to be super comfortable, but the single most important thing is that it needed the movement. And so
yeah, I mean the most important thing was in fact the skid on the bottom, because that is what differentiates the chair from other chairs. It's what gives you the movement, but it also gives you the two positions. But also the most difficult part to develop really was the transition to find the right angle, but also to find the transition between the two angles to make it soft and smooth when you move between the two. Well, I suppose to start with the Olympic torch. It was an international competition which we entered, and we were lucky enough to win. And it's a very interesting project because it's a very involved and actually very technical project.
And it's also a difficult challenge because we were designing something which was intended to represent our country, but of course not everybody in the country can say what they like and what they don't like, so there was a big pressure when we actually revealed the design, that it should be something which captured the public's interest in a positive way.
And when it came to the actual design of the torch, one of the key things for us is that we wanted to embody in the design the story of the torch relay, and we wanted to have a strong narrative to the design. So you can see in the design of the torch we have lots of holes on the outside. In fact, there are 8,000 holes, and that represents one hole for every one of the 8,000 runners. And the other thing is that it has a triangular form, and that triangular form represents the 3 times that the Olympic Games has been in London, and also represents the Olympic motto, which is faster, higher, stronger.
One other thing which is unusual, I think, unexpected by the public, is that we're making 8,000 torches. So each person who runs or participates in the relay will keep their torch. So the Olympic flame is passed from one torch to the next, then it's extinguished and kept as a souvenir. It's interesting when we're asked to talk about design in the UK, because I think when people think about British design, there's generally a view of a mixture of different things. People often still think about the 60s and pop, and obviously influence of music in our culture and design. But there's a great deal of eclecticism in British design, but I think it's important to stress that British design is everywhere now, because British designers and British design education influences every country in lots of different companies and corporations. Not necessarily named people, but our design education system has a long history of being sort of world leading, and the product of that is, I think, design all over the world. So British design per se, I don't think is necessarily identifiable, but it has had a big influence globally